All right, welcome to another episode of the Growth Insider. Today I'm super excited because I have Dan with me, the Chief Business Officer at Ordr. Dan, do you want to just give everyone listening a quick background on your story, a little bit about what you do, and a little bit about the company?
No, fantastic. Again, awesome. Thanks for letting me on your podcast. I'm excited about this conversation. A little more about me. I'm Dr. Dan Kaufmann, over 20 years in sports and entertainment. I've had opportunities to work at the NFL for 3 teams, NBA, collegiate level, as well as minor league hockey. I have an opportunity I've also got my doctorate at University of South Florida with my dissertation focusing on internal and external factors of sponsorship sales cycles. So I also do some teaching as well. And that's a little bit about me and what we do. And now at Ordr, I'm the Chief Business Officer. So I work with all live experiences. So for example, of rights holders. So with professional sports teams, minor league sports teams, concert venues, music, entertainment, anything at all where people go to spend money and entertainment. And that's honestly been my area of expertise of doing the day-to-day business operations.
Awesome. Before we kind of dive into the company and talk about the growth, I'm curious in the sports marketing world, what was the favorite team that you worked with over the course of the years that you were kind of in that field?
Oh, great question. Just a little more about my background. I started in minor league hockey with the Pensacola Ice Pilots, who are no longer affiliated. They were the AA affiliate in the ECHL for the Toronto Maple Leafs and New York Islanders. Then I had opportunity to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I did a lot of ticket sales from there, and then suite sales, and opportunity to go to University of Tampa to get 2 degrees, MBA and MS in marketing. Then I worked for Learfield, so I worked at University of Toledo at Rocket Sports Properties, and then in University of Wisconsin with Badger Sports Properties. That's where I met my wife in Wisconsin. And then I had an opportunity to work for the New York Jets for 7 years. And then with Benson Entertainment, I worked for the New Orleans Saints and New Orleans Pelicans and all their other affiliates too. But I will tell you, to your question, I actually really liked working for the Jets, even though we weren't as good on the field and they get made fun of a lot in the media. It was a great organization, a lot of high talent people. It was really great opportunity to really work with so many good people, and I learned a lot when I was in New York for 7 years and made some very good relationships personally and professionally. But yeah, I really like the Jets. Each of them, I'll tell you about life. Each of them I learned a lot from. I like working in Wisconsin. I like working in Toledo. I like working for the Saints. I like working for the Buccaneers. So like, they're all good. They're all just different parts of my story of who I am, where I'm at today as we go from there. So it's been fun living in multiple states and really just exploring everything in North America. So that's been a little bit with everything. So for your question, yes, but they're all good. I would tell you, it's not me being political answer. They're just all different. You know what I mean? And I learned a lot from there.
Sure. So before we are diving into Ordr, I'm sure some people listening are checking it out. Of course, a lot of listeners on the show are, executives, founders, entrepreneurs as well. So I'm kind of curious, what is different about Ordr from some of the competitors in the space? Do you want to just give a quick background on that so people listening can kind of understand?
Yeah, no, the greatest thing I'll tell you about Ordr, and it's Ordr.io, we are a payment processing platform and in live experiences only. So we are vertically integrated into all live experiences, what we talked about earlier. One thing we love to do, I think what we did is we actually tested the market, and we actually did multiple different surveys, and we wanted to see what the problems were of different areas of what they're doing in knowing who their fan was going into their stadium. Talk to people in the marketing department, talk to people in the finance department, talk to people in the ticketing department where they sell tickets, to sponsorship, where that was my area, to working with BI, business intelligence areas. We actually were mapping out the solution of what is the actual market telling of everything in live experiences within a payment platform. And one of the areas was that people just didn't know what payment processing was, and they didn't know who their fan was. And we actually have created a product based on the market that we're testing, and it's been growing. And essentially, we are really being a full data platform for all rights holders who want to know who their fans are, how much they're spending, and it's all driven on buyer behavior. Because if you look at anything at all, when you break down a human, there's 4 different areas, and that's demographics, psychographics, geographics, and buyer behavior. We have actually gone in and we are now starting to build out customer profiles based off of buyer behavior, based off their spending purchases from credit cards, Google Pay, Apple Pay, anything they buy in a venue or outside the venue. So it's been very fun to really map out like who their actual customer is, what they're spending in the venue, and really kind of just do an ROI on who the individual game tickets. So if you are going to a concert, we can map out, at a, game in Los Angeles where you're at and one of the stadiums, let's say Dodger Stadium, and we can actually map out if you go to a single game or if you go in with a season ticket, we can actually map out your buyer behavior. And I think that's been really fun though. And it's been an opportunity to see like what your customers are really spending, because we are a payment platform. We are certified through all regulations, through data. We actually have all the inputs that we can actually go into and really understand the customer. I think that's been really fun to see, and like what sponsors are spending, what the ROI is on sponsorship. So it's been really fun as well. So I think it's been a very unique area to where we tested the market, we interviewed the market, we found problems, and now we built solutions around those problems for our people where they didn't know they had problems. And so that's been the fun part of really introducing a new product and service into this industry.
It's really interesting because you said something there about step one being interviewing to figure out what the problems are. We're a lot of times we'll get thrown in, at our growth agency, like working with customers where there's a product in development and there's been no discovery or validation that there's product market fit before they're dumping sometimes millions of dollars into that product. So for people listening, like how important is that discovery or interview phase, even if you already have a really successful business, right?
I cannot illustrate this, and I'll share this. And me being on the corporate side, aka for teams for 20 plus years, to now going into a growth company, I have to say part of this I learned was from my doctorate, of really going in and how do you amplify different types of research. So there are really 3 ways you can do this. And this is for everyone listening. There's a survey, so you can go through SurveyMonkey, get survey data, it's quantitative data. You can do focus groups. And again, focus groups are good, but again, there could be some inherent bias. If one person says the answer and it's a follow leader answer, we like to do individual interviews because then there's no bias, and we just broke it down from there. But I think no matter what, if you're thinking of because there's only 2 types of product. It's either a product or a service that everyone sells. There's nothing else categorized in that. Is you have to see, though, does it fit the market? Is it a product market fit? How do you test that? I think the research before you start going out to the market to raise money or invest in money or bootstrap, I think that is the most imperative factor to see, does your idea really fit the product or service that you're building? And I can tell you this, before we jumped into Ordr, we had to do that. And then from there, we reverse engineered everything. And I think, though, just learning from Techstars, by being an advisor in Techstars that I'm doing, many people don't do this. So I think it's do your due diligence, do your research, get people, find out exactly who your target customer would be, incentivize them, give them a gift card or whatever that may be to do an interview or focus group or, hey, chance to win a survey. But you need to have qualitative and quantitative data to then actually figure out, does this product or service solve a problem? I hope that helps.
That definitely does. And for problems that you were looking for in the market, tell me about that, because there's a lot of problems that a product can solve, especially when you're doing enterprise SaaS or software. How did you pick out because a lot of times you'll do discovery calls, you'll do interviews, you'll kind of get this messy canvas of a whole bunch of stuff that your prospect is telling you. So how did you pick out those key problems that were actually needle moving and you knew would actually result in revenue in the future once you built that product around those problems?
Sorry to interrupt. Don't worry about revenue. Really don't worry. I know it sounds so crazy. If you solve a problem, the revenue will come. I think many times people are like, I want to make money, right? I want to build this and make money. Did you solve a problem? So one thing we like to do especially in interviews, and everyone can look this up, is a truly thematic analysis. What are the themes that are really saying through these interviews of what people are talking about, and is there a common theme? And when you start to pick up the common themes, then you'd be like, okay, this is not just an individual that's a skewed off person that's not in your data set. And I think that's one area from a survey, like, again, you could see from if you actually build out survey design and actually go in and really survey, a bunch of people, and you can go to third party people, like, here's your, target customer, or here's the people that you're looking at, they can then target that. But I would just say, in my opinion, though, you have to really pick out and analyze what they're actually saying, and then pick out common themes, and then how do you pick out those common themes, and then how do you reverse engineer to help solve those problems. So that's how I would look at this from my perspective, as going in from a revenue person, from individual contributor manager to executive to a researcher. And then now it's actually helped me evolve to what we're trying to build here at Ordr, or anything else that I'm going to start to do no matter what, is really making sure that your product or service fits to what the customers are saying, or potential prospects, or anyone else. And I would say, in my opinion, based on your customers, this is just something that we like to do, is try and interview 10 to 20 in your different sector of potential customers that will go into. You can't just do like, oh, we did 3. Like, that won't work. You're going to have to build this out, and you're going to have to go in, at least from interviews. From focus groups, I would do, 10 to 15 focus groups. And survey design, you're looking at, can you get, at least 100 responses? You know what I mean? Because then you can actually look at that from there. And those questions could be, they call radio buttons, so like 1 through 5, everyone's taking a survey, or are they open-ended questions? If they're open-ended questions, okay, how do you do the thematic analysis on what they're saying in their open-ended questions? So, again, I'm very much more focused on, let's do the research, let's take the data, qualitative and quantitative, and then help solve a problem. And then if we solve the problem, we build the solution, and then we then test it in the marketplace.
Okay. And now that you're kind of at that testing phase, or a little bit past it, what are you noticing as you're trying to go out? I think before we hit record, when we were talking last time, you were mentioning that you're flying in. I won't mention the names of the teams and stuff, but flying in to meet a whole bunch of prospective customers. So what are your best tips kind of transitioning like early stage product into closing those first deals?
Yeah, I give the product away for free. Give the product away for free, and let them do a usability study, and be like, look, hey, we'll give this to you. Please have your stakeholders use this. We're here to work with you. We're willing to give our product for free from a SaaS, right? And then from there, we can get 4, 5, 6 different rights holders, teams, or anyone else, music venues, or anyone else, and then we start to create case studies. And then we have our concept and future proof of, through third-party validation, through credence quality, to be like, here's what Team A did, here's what Team B did, here's what Team C did. And then from there, we can then pretty much go in and then show it to the marketplace. Or another way is in going discounting. Like, look, hey, your first 5 customers are 100% discount, second 5 customers are 80% discount, third are 60, then 40, then 20. And then you have enough people that are using the product, and then you have third-party validation. But what we're doing, though, with all our teams is, and this is very important, is we're getting input from all of our stakeholders who we surveyed on, and please, they were like, please share us your input. What else can we help build? What else? We are working together with you to help solve your problem. And we incentivize them. We like to say, hey, appreciate everything. We, send over a gift card, et cetera, et cetera. But that's our goal, though, is like, here's what we built. Here's what we're doing. We gave it to you for free. Does this actually work? Does this not work? What would you like to change? What else do you like to add? What else do you not to subtract? What else you don't find value? So I truly believe, though, if you get people to come in and actually do that, then I think there would be the adoption rate would be there, and then it's long-term growth. And then as we scale, as we're going in and doing everything with all these other teams, is okay, then we're building out the model more and more, and each team might be a little different. A hockey team might be a little bit different than a football team. An NFL versus NHL. Cool. How do we build out, products and features for that NFL team versus an NHL team? Because you got to look at it like there's 41 home games for NHL team. There's only 10 for NFL teams. and they're going between 65 and 85,000 people into a huge stadium to arena is 15 to 20,000. So you have two totally different customer experiences completely once you go into a venue.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's kind of the key across like the last few questions that I've asked is just relentless like discovery with the customer is really the key to success in building a product and sales in scaling a company. Zooming out a little bit, as you guys continue to grow and you sitting as like the chief business officer over the course of your career, what have you had to do stepping into that leadership role to kind of generate results, right? Because you mentioned being an individual contributor all the way up to leading teams and like driving change. What have been like one or two things that you've taken away throughout that process?
This is the first one. Treat your internal customers better than your external customers. Take care of your employees. Take care of your employees. Take care of your founders. Take care of everybody. Because the more you take care of them, the more output will happen. You know, we're about building a culture here at Ordr, and all of us get along very well. And anyone who comes in, like, your culture has been unbelievable. And that's through my CEO, Ryan Bott. I've helped out. Everyone's helped out in there. So one thing, no matter what, is we have to make sure we take care of your internal customers. Second, this is where I think building out teams is the best way. And this is when you're a founder, Series A, anyone. You could be an enterprise company. You could be a mid-cap company. Is find people who are exceptionally talented that complement you. That is probably the one thing, no matter what I have learned. There are things I'm very good at. I can tell you the things I'm not very good at. Like me trying to code and trying to build out stuff. I'm not that person at all, but we find someone or someone who's in finance who's really good. You know, we've had in our finance, our CFO is unbelievable. We came from a very large company, and now me and him work together hand in hand. You know, who else can we look at customer success who's good at onboarding customers? You know, we have to look at everything in our pipeline where touch points are for our customers and figure out people who are who are, I call it Olympic level, at their skill set. So, you know, we have a CTO that's good at what they're doing. We have a great CEO. We have a great strategy officer. We have a great strategic alliance partner person. We have an unbelievable chief of staff who does all of our work on there. We have a lot of other people that work underneath all of us that are part of the company and being, you know, included in there. So, and that's the final part I want to say is don't act like you're a know-it-all, because you're not. You know, I'm not. Again, I get older. I'm like the more I'm older, the less I know, right? And just find the right people and treat them good and include them in everything. Everyone has a different background, skill set, and I think anyone can truly, if they think critically, they can add value to the company, to the customer, because it's always about the customer, internally and externally. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz, I think, now because of the incredible stuff that you can do with a simple N8N workflow or building technology into your business and AI, where there's definitely a lot of that, like, you know, hire less people, get less people in the business, increase profit margins. And although that's true, and you should definitely implement all of that tech, do you still think that people are the most critical component to the business? Because based on how you're talking, it sounds like that's kind of what you're leaning towards.
So I'm going to talk both sides of my mouth. So like for operations point and efficiency part, I think AI is now coming into an area to where now in the last 6 months, we now can actually do a lot of different things to help automate. Let's be very transparent. But I'm very old school where people still, I think, want to talk with people, especially if they're looking at enterprise SaaS. They need to have trust. They don't want to have automation. People buy from people a lot, especially the bigger, like if it's a smaller, you know, item where people are only spending, you know, a couple $1,000s. Yeah, okay, they might talk to someone, an AI chat bot or, you know, a phone call or etc. Or they want to get a haircut, great. Or if they want to fix a, you know, plumber or, you know, a toilet or something like that. Yeah. I think though the bigger the price of enterprise, it's human interaction. I think no matter what, interpersonal communication skills and relationship building are in part of that, those large enterprise deals of, hey, you're not working with us, you're working with a team. You know, we're working with everything. But our product might have some AI in there, obviously with NEN and all the other stuff that people are building out now because you don't have to code as much as you have to. I think it's part of the good background. I think it's great for maybe outreach or something like that to do email campaigns and efficiencies, absolutely. But I truly believe people want to connect with people in general.
Yeah. When you're scaling now, that the stage the company's in, what's kind of like the next step for you? Obviously, we talked a lot about the front end of discovery, product market fit, launching new products. What does the future look like for Ordr, and where are you guys trying to go?
I think honestly, doing storytelling, of just storytelling, showing the market, getting market validation, using third-party validation, going through multiple different channels of our sales process, from LinkedIn to other areas of building out PDFs, webinars, and consumer education. I think especially now, especially if you want to build something new that's different in a very archaic industry, you have to do consumer education. And I think that's one of our biggest things, no matter what now. With payment processing, it's always just been about, hey, what's the lowest rate? Well, we're defining a bunch of value of what we're doing with our data platform, how we're solving problems based on what the market's saying and what we're doing. So I think as we're going out, we're going to be a lot on podcasts like this, to webinars, to talking with our potential customers, to sending out, drip campaigns of like, here's how you manage a chargeback again, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's what we're going to have, with all of our other partners that we're working with, of them doing testimonials and creating short feed content to long form content on YouTube. So I think it's just one area that's the next area, is really changing something. The way I say this is, and you'll laugh, is before the iPhone came out, what was the iPhone? It was just, people were just used to going in and getting a flip phone, and now look at it, they had to educate everyone on, this is a new area to be a new evolution of a communication tool. That's what we're doing in the same area right now, is really educating the customers, like, there's a new way to do this. And I think this is how we can help you solve multiple pain points from the revenue side, BI side, finance side, for live experiences.
Okay, yeah. And for people listening that own a larger company like that could actually use Ordr in their workflow, what's possible there? Like, I know we barely scratched the surface. We can dive into this a little bit deeper. Just give me like one or two examples of what's possible as a Ordr customer and what you can implement.
Yeah, so just, you take any industry. Give me an industry. Awesome. I'll do it right off the cuff, and then I'll go from there. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, let's think. Let's say that there is a concert venue that wants to come to you and work with Ordr. Yeah.
Perfect. So, for example, like a concert venue or even a business, they come to us, we will help them know who their customers are. So, for example, we can actually look at what type of ticket buyers bought that through either Ticketmaster, SeatGeek, or anyone else. We can then track that customer, because they have to put all their information from their account. They have to put their credit card information in. For the most part, people have about 3 credit cards. They usually have a corporate account, account they use for miles or rewards or cash back, and they have a backup credit card. That's the most part, at least in North America. If you're outside North America, you're allowed to do a lot of mobile, like using your phone. Again, that's just consumer adoption based in Europe and Asia and the Middle East and everywhere else, Australia. And so, but again, let's just say North America. We can then actually go into the venue and just be like, okay, here's your customer, here's what they spent, here's what they're doing. And if, let's say they went to a rock show, okay, their propensity is they may like to go to another rock show. How can they create an email campaign or another campaign? Like, here's some other rock shows that are going to be coming in your area, and there's a propensity people like rock based on their tastes and preferences, or they like country, or R&B, or rap, or top 40, or whatever, or comedy, or whatever that may be, based off all the propensities of what they like, based on their tastes and preferences, that we can help them maximize shows that might not be selling. Or they might like hot dogs, just for example, and a beer. Maybe we send them a special promo. It's like, cool, here's a special hot dog and beer combo for you coming back again. So there's many different ways of knowing your customer based off buyer behavior. But for any other businesses, though, again, especially live experiences or anyone else, we can actually track customers on their payments and their and what they can do based on their tastes and preferences. And that's been the funnest part of this. Is all driven on buyer behavior. It's not what people say, but what actual people do. And that's been the fun part, is actually seeing, like, people could say whatever they want, but we're actually tracking what they're doing.
Yeah, tracking what they're spending, where their attention's going. So
Exactly.
if you're implementing something like that into, let's say, the concert venue example, there must be like a direct ROI almost immediately, even if you're doing those first few like email campaigns or text campaigns based off of that data without even getting deeper into the product itself, right?
Absolutely, because then now you're saying that, okay, maybe this person at a venue will buy one show, maybe they buy a season-long pass. And next thing you know, you're taking that customer going to one or two events. Now, like, you know what? You can buy your whole season-long pass for anything at the venue. And then, oh, cool, maybe you want to buy a Loge table, and guess what? You like this, and you like, some certain alcohol, let's just say vodka. We know right now that, okay, these people are spending this type of vodka. Maybe they go to a sponsor. And maybe they go to, ABC vodka, DEF vodka, and they can be a sponsor for that. Because it's based on propensity of people that are spending, based on what they're buying and everything. So there are multiple ways to make money based off consumer behavior. We've now gone down to the whole lower level of actually tracking buyer behavior.
Okay, nice. And since this does kind of work for any industry, like what are a couple industries that you guys want to crack into or get into a little bit more in the next, let's say, 18 months?
We're letting everything just follow through and seeing what happens. I know it sounds crazy, but like, we've gotten hit up from casinos, hotels, theme parks, zoos, festivals. So we're just kind of going with the flow because we're getting so many inbounds, which is a good thing. But like, we just gotta make sure again, I go back to everything. We have to make sure, is the customer happy? It always goes back to the customer, and the customer being the live experience. Are we making sure we are delivering everything that we're saying? Is the product making sense? Are they going and making sure everything works? So I would say, in our opinion, the next 18 months, it's going to be very interesting of what else we're going to be in. But it's been a very good campaign so far. Of like, we get a lot inbounds of people who want to work with us, which has been fun. But we got to look at the right partners and making sure in the right industries that we're doing the right thing. And, we began a lot of stuff overseas, right? With a lot of European soccer clubs, for example, right? Mm-hmm. They're reaching out now. And so, are we ready to go over to the EU or the UK? Are we ready to then set up all the financial systems? I think that might be an opportunity within the next 12 to 18 months. But right now, we've focused on in North America. I think there's definitely a plan to go international in Oceania, Asia, Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. So there's definitely a plan to do that as we scale out. But again, it's controlled growth, because we don't want to go in, and this is I can only imagine all the people you interviewed. We don't want to scale too much. We don't want to scale too much and then not deliver on our customer.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do think that scaling too fast can be a pretty challenging issue. How do you kind of know when it's the right time to put your foot on the gas versus pulling back, in even if it's not at this current company, in past experiences that you've had? Like, how do you kind of know that difference?
It's a feeling. You know what I mean? Do we have the right resources? Do we have the right, human capital? Do we have the right technology? Are we ready to go in? Is it everything that we're doing awesome? So like, you have to look at everything from all the resources we have of time, money, human capital, physical capital, and then once I think we're there, then we will grow in there. I think that is just one of the areas. Again, I think people want to grow as fast as possible and sell. We don't plan on selling. I'm going to tell you right now, we plan on just growing and growing and growing and growing, and then we'll see what happens. But like, there are many founders like, oh, I want to get out in 24 months or 36 months. Like, that is not our plan at all. We want to actually go in and change the industry of what's been happening in live experiences, and really making sure that, people know who their customer is from a buyer behavior aspect.
Perfect. Well, zooming back out a little bit for the last few minutes here, I want to touch on where you're at in your career as well. So, Chief Business Officer at Order, we talked about the transition all the way up to that stage. What's next for you? And like, of course, staying at Order is the it sounds like the long term plan for you. Um, but how do you see all these pieces of your career kind of fitting together, and what's the next step?
I'll share this with everybody. This came from my coach. I'm gonna plug my coach. My coach's name's Tom Cox. I can tell you right now, I've had three uh, catalysts in my life. One is I married my wife. Two, I got my PhD, my doctorate at University of South Florida. And three, I got a career coach. And over the last year and a half, and I fought against my coach on this, but he really taught me this, and he's been telling me put content out on LinkedIn or whatever channel. I've been doing it twice a week now for the last year and a half on sports marketing, sports sponsorship, sports everything. So I know who my customer is of brands or rights holders. And I've had multiple opportunities come to me on multiple different everywhere. And sometimes I pick up some things, sometimes I don't. But again, for me right now, it's been fun. I've done really well for myself in my career, and I just want to work with good people. I think that's the one thing, no matter what is, I'm all about now in my stage is who are the good people, who are complimentary. I think that's kind of where I'm at. And then from there, we then see what could work. That's where I'm at in life right now. I know it sounds a little woo-woo-y, but it's just been one of those things that I'm all about making sure whoever opportunities come in or who wants to work with me, it's definitely someone who I know I can trust, and I can just want to be around good people. So I know it's a little political answer, but it's just been very cool. Like, there's more opportunities I can't announce here, just of stuff that I've done that's happening just from what I've been doing. So I would tell you right now, it's just been one of those areas where people come to me and, we see what's a fit, what's not a fit, and, do I know you, do I not like you, and then if I don't know you, then let's have some conversations. Let's get to know one another. I'm very more about getting to know you, and then are we complimentary? Are you a good person? Truly, that's like where I'm at now in life.
Awesome. It's a good place to be. Last question I'll ask you, or last couple questions. If somebody's listening and their number one goal is just to scale the crap out of their company, that's usually the goal, right? What is the one or two pieces of advice that you would leave them with?
Slow down. I'm serious. Slow down. Slow down. I'm telling you, if you figure out a problem, and right now you figured out a problem, and right now you have a solution to that problem that people are willing to buy at a premium, or even it depends. It depends if you go, differentiation strategy or low cost strategy. It just depends on what you want to do. If you solve the problem and people are willing to pay for it, the money will come. That is the area where I'm at in life now, is like, I won't do anything until I'm like, wow, we actually solved the problem. And it's been validated in the marketplace. And honestly, like, people just want, again, I kind of said this before, people just want to make money and sell and scale as fast as possible. That's great. But I will tell you, if you do it right, you'll be more successful instead of do it fast. And I think that would be my area too. Again, you just gotta have patience. And I think because of technology and because of everything with instant gratification through AI, everyone's like, let's go as fast as possible. Yes, but however, do it right though, and making sure that you have a product market fit based on what the market's saying. Your people are willing to solve a problem. So that would be me. And I've seen the best people be successful not overnight. I've seen people, it took 3, 4, 5 years, and they're like, oh my God, you're a multimillionaire or a billionaire or et cetera, et cetera. That didn't happen overnight. Yeah. Like, even though you might see stuff on social media, like, that takes years to do. And I think then just obviously, iterating based on what the customers are saying, changing your services, your products to the fit, you're going to have evolutions of your product or service based on what the customer wants. But it's all about the customer. I truly believe that, though. If you can really find the problem and fit it to the customer and they're willing to pay, money will come.
Totally. The last thing I'll ask you here is just where can people find out more about you and what you do, and then also learn more about Ordr if they want to work with you guys.
Ah, the plugs. I love it. It's great. I'm having fun here. No, my on LinkedIn, it's Dr. Dan Kaufman, Kaufmann. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's really my main priority, my main area of communication. And my website is drdankaufman.com. So it's drdankaufmann.com. And then Ordr, please look it up. It's ordr.io. And if you have any questions, you can message me on LinkedIn or anywhere else. I'm obviously willing to have conversations, willing to help, and that's just where I'm at in life. So, Austin, again, I appreciate you having me on the podcast. This was a really good conversation. I hope I add value to not only you, but your listeners, your agency, and all your other stakeholders, and I'm always here to help.
I really appreciate you coming on. You had some great insights on scaling companies and career. So there's going to be a lot of takeaways for all the listeners. And yeah, I'll link everything in the description on YouTube or anywhere else, and we'll talk to you guys soon. But thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.